Happy holidays, everyone. We get set. This is always an interesting week. Rodney, I'm going to start with you and Tony. What was Christmas week like in the NFL with meetings and practice and all that stuff when you're right in the middle of a playoff race and now you've got everybody in the house doing all the stuff that's going on outside the doors for all of us?
Mike, I was one of those guys that I didn't want to be bothered with a bunch of family and things like that if I had to prepare for a game. I wanted to be my wife, maybe my kids, and not a whole bunch of like my mom and my sister and my brother, anything like that. So I wanted to keep all the distractions and all the people at a minimum, Coach.
Well, as a coach, it's different because you're trying to figure out how to manage this. What do we do on Christmas Eve? How do we get guys home quick enough? What do we do on Christmas Day? Do we move practice back? Do we start it early so they can spend the rest of the day with them? And as players, you know, a lot of guys don't have kids, but as coaches, almost everybody does. You're thinking about the staff, all of that, and still trying to win a game. So it can create some headaches for sure.
And we do have a game on Christmas, Mike Florio, with the Vikings in action, and a significant game, obviously, for New Orleans. You know, from a fan perspective, and having worked a few Christmas Day or night games, they're difficult, they're odd, but from a fan's perspective, it's great to be able to sit home in the afternoon after gifts are open, the family's gathered, and watch an NFL game. And we're going to get one with meaning here on Friday.
Yeah, and it's a Thanksgiving vibe, definitely, when you have that game on, especially late afternoon in the Cowboys' traditional window. And for the Vikings, they're not officially done yet. And even if they are, this is kind of like their last chance to show people what they can do, like what the Bengals did on Monday night against the Steelers. It's kind of like a bowl game. It's an opportunity to get everyone's attention and maybe lay the foundation for next year, because obviously there's no way they're getting to the playoffs this year, but they can at least go out with some pride intact if they could upset the Saints.
You brought it up, so I won't let the Cincinnati fans do any more celebrating. You all can have your moment for the rest of the week. But, Tony, I'll start with you on Pittsburgh. This has been 3-4 odd weeks here for the Steelers. What's the level of concern, and where is the concern for you and Rodney as you watch the Steelers lose to Cincinnati Monday night?
Well, my concern started about 6 weeks ago as they were winning these close games, but really kind of losing their identity. And having played in Pittsburgh and coached in Pittsburgh, you come into December thinking, hey, we're physical, we're tough, we run the football, we stop other people from running. That's the way you win football games in Pittsburgh in December. And that hasn't been the case for about a month now, and people are catching up to that. So I think it can be fixed, but I'm not sure if it can be fixed in this day and age with the rules. What we did and what we used to do, and I know what Coach Noel would do, we put the pads back on and we do some hitting and practice blocking and tackling. And that's what they need to do, but I don't know if you can, just the way the rules are set up now.
And to me, I think the most important thing they have to do is just stick together as a team. You're going to have the media, you're going to have the fans, and everybody has an opinion of what you should do, run the football more, this, that, and the other. Just stick together. And if you're Mike Tomlin, go to your veteran players and tell them to spend more time with some of the young players, getting them a little bit more familiar with the game plan. So it's just about guys putting more effort in and not blaming each other for all the mistakes and things like that. Just sticking together as a team, Mike.
Yeah, Tony.
I almost feel like they have
to... Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry. What I was going to say is I almost feel like they have to bottom out before they can start digging out of this hole. And maybe the bottom was struck on Monday night against the Cincinnati Bengals. It kind of reminds me, it's a loose corollary to 2005. They lost in Cincinnati, or either Cincinnati came there and beat them. Either way, they lost to the Bengals, and everyone's like, up. The Bengals are the new masters of the AFC North. And that next week, the Steelers had a game in Pittsburgh against the Bears, and it was a hard-fought, tough, snow-in-the-air type of a game. And that was the spark for what ultimately became the Steelers getting in by the skin of their teeth and winning the Super Bowl that year. But I feel like they need to hit bottom, and maybe they finally have. And now the question is, can they start digging out with the Colts and the Browns as the two games that they have as an opportunity? It's almost like a preseason to the postseason. These are two games where they can prove to themselves they're ready to win in the playoffs.
Because they're in, and I wanted to get back to Tony's point there about putting the pads on. Mike Tomlin played that card already before the Buffalo game. May have to play it again. But if they don't beat Indianapolis, Tony, and Cleveland beats the Jets, we can't assume anything as we learned this week, but then Cleveland's got a chance to win the division on week 17. So Pittsburgh really has to be feeling the pressure. Can they become the Steelers that we know and establish a running game at this late point in the season?
It can happen. I believe that. It reminds me a lot of our season in 2006, our Super Bowl season. We started out the same way in Indianapolis, 9-0. We're winning a lot of close games, really weren't playing our style, but winning. And then we hit a stretch where we played badly. And we had a game about this time of year in Jacksonville. We lost 44-17 and gave up almost 400 yards rushing. And everyone said the season was over. I remember talking to the guys and saying, we're not getting any new players. We have no hero that's going to come in and save us. We're going to cut down on what we do. We're going to get back to basics, tackle, block, and move the ball that way. And 6 weeks later, we were in the Super Bowl. We got some guys healthy and got back. But as Rodney said, it's the mentality that you have going back and believing in each other, believing in the system, and doing what you can do.
And we keep talking about the Steelers of old, and I hear everybody say the old Steelers. This is a completely different team. You look at their offensive line. These guys are pass blockers. They don't do well when it comes to grinding, putting that hand in the dirt, and knocking people off the ball. So we can't expect them to come out and all of a sudden try to run the ball 30 times a game. But I think what they have to do, at least try, give an effort like they did last night, try to run the football, use the play-action pass. Maybe like you talked about with Chicago, Coach, maybe get Big Ben under center a little bit more so they can hand the ball off and use some of those play actions and things like that. But the personality of this team is not an offense. It's not a physical pound, put your hand in the dirt and just physically dominate people. That's not their personality, Mike.
So, Mike Florio, who's the second best team in the AFC if we all agree Kansas City's number one? Is it Buffalo at this moment?
I think without question it's Buffalo. And I think something happened to Buffalo with the Hail Murray play. I think losing that game helped them more than winning it helped the Cardinals. The Cardinals lost 3 in a row after that. The Bills, I think, got upset. They had the game won. They let it get away from them. They went to their bye week. And I've heard time and again this year, the bye week, how important it is for teams that didn't have a preseason, that didn't have an offseason. It's an opportunity to retool and refocus, and they're undefeated since their bye week, and they've had 3 straight nationally televised games, 2 in prime time, and they've risen to the moment, and they keep getting better. This is December, and the Bills are getting better every week. They blew out the Broncos. They have the Patriots coming up on a Monday night. They're going to be ready for the playoffs, and they know very well the last 2 times they were in, 2017 and last year, they lose in the wild card round. This is a team that strikes me as an organization that is ready to get to January and win. And I think they are, in the AFC, the best threat to the Chiefs right now.
And I could agree with you on that, Mike, but I'll say one thing. The Buffalo Bills, their Achilles heel is their run defense. If they get in and have to play against Baltimore, and Baltimore is playing the way they've played the last couple of weeks, and they get back to pounding the football. The other thing Baltimore can do is put pressure on the passer. That is a matchup that would be very interesting. I do think Buffalo has the best chance to beat Kansas City because they can score points. But I would be very wary if I was a Bills fan and those Baltimore Ravens rolled into Buffalo.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to really hear what Mike Florio is saying. I'm having audio problems, but I think Buffalo is definitely that team. I think, every single week I look and I watch their defense. They're playing a lot more aggressive coaching. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, how Leslie Frazier, he's calling a lot more aggressive game plan. And it seems like those players are really feeding off of it. You see they're creating turnovers. The secondary in particular at the cornerback position, they're playing outstanding. I think their safeties are some of the top duo safeties in the league. So I like what they're doing defensively. And we know that Josh Allen and that offense can put up some points. So I think it's Buffalo right now.
Yeah, Rodney, they got back to pieces on defense, and they felt much more comfortable, Tony, as they've gotten to the second half of the season. Leslie Frazier getting the pieces that they had changed a little bit. They brought in some guys with some experience from Carolina, going back to Sean McDermott's system. It feels like they all fit together a heck of a lot better right now.
They are, but we have to remember this. Going into Kansas City, you can't go in there with defense and expect to win. The Saints played them about as well as you can play them. They roughed up Mahomes. They threw the timing off. They covered. They played physical, and they gave up 32 points. So you played perfect. you still are going to have to score 35 to 40 to beat them. Buffalo can score. That's why I think they have the best chance to beat the Chiefs.
I'm going to flip back over to the NFC here for a second. Tony, you mentioned New Orleans. Can you follow up on that? The Drew Brees situation. Look, early on, he didn't look as comfortable, as sharp as we're used to. What did you see as the game went on, and what do you think we're going to see with New Orleans these last 2 weeks?
Well, Drew got better, and they're going to need him to get better. And I think Sean Payton realized that. He took a calculated risk and said, I'm going to go with my ace. I know from practice he's not 100%, but if we're going to win in the playoffs, if we're going to win a Super Bowl, we need Drew in there. He wants to play, so I've got to play him. It may have cost them a little bit in this game last week, but in the long run, I think it'll help them. They're a good defensive team. They've got a lot of weaponry. They're going to rest Michael Thomas up and try to get him healthy for the playoffs. But the key is Drew. He's got to come back. He's got to feel comfortable, get that timing back, and be the Drew Brees that we know in the playoffs.
Yeah, but Drew also has to be honest, and it's his responsibility to his coaching staff as well as his teammates to be honest about how he's feeling. I don't want a Drew Brees at 80% and 100% Taysom Hill, because I believe 100% Taysom Hill is a lot better than an 80% Drew Brees at this point in time in his career. So it's his responsibility to make sure that he communicates. Even next week, if he starts and he gets injured, he needs to go to the coaching staff, be honest, and don't try to be a hero, take himself out of the game, and allow Taysom Hill to take over if he's not, close to 100%.
Mike?
Yeah, look, I agree completely, and I'd love to know the story behind the story as to why you go with Drew Brees when he's clearly diminished when you have Taysom Hill. It makes me wonder, does Sean Payton have doubts about Taysom Hill, even though for the most part he got a passing grade during his 4 starts in Drew Brees' absence? For as much as I've praised Sean Payton for being a genius when it comes to manipulating the media and keeping his starting quarterback's identity close to the vest, I think he misfired here. It should not have been Drew Brees against the Chiefs. They could have potentially beaten the Chiefs with Taysom Hill. I'd love to know. Surely there's an alternate universe somewhere where all other facts are the same except this one. Taysom Hill played instead of Drew Brees on Sunday. I'd love to know what happened in that game.
Florio World. We should all visit Florio World on a daily basis just for our imagination. New Orleans does win the division if they get the win over Minnesota on Christmas Day. They do play Carolina Week 17. I'm just going to tell you guys, do not sleep on Carolina. They continue to play close games. They have stayed in it, and who knows if we see Christian McCaffrey before the end. Guys, let me ask you one last question here, and then I'll get to our Sunday night game. Tony, the Rams. I know the Jets in the first-round pick and Trevor Lawrence and all that stuff. We got that. That was stunning with the Rams, the way they were playing. And now they play Seattle in one of those almost gotta-have-it games, the biggest game of the Sunday afternoon window, late. What are your thoughts on what happened to the Rams and what this week is going to look like for them?
2 weeks ago, I was ready to declare the Rams the most complete team in football. They had everything rolling defensively. They're playing great. They're rushing the passer. They have a physical secondary. They're running the football. Jared Goff is getting all these easy throws off the play action and the bootleg. They're moving it well. And I said, this is the most complete team. But you see what happens when they aren't able to get that run game going early. The Jets came out, and their defensive front stuffed them up front. And once that run game didn't happen, they were a completely different team. So that has to put a lot of doubt in their mind. If we play someone in the playoffs that can stop our run, then where do we go? And to me, there's just some doubt about that offense right now.
Yeah, and the thing that really stood out to me was just a lack of passion and emotion. They didn't play with that energy, and it almost seemed like they were looking forward to this week's game as opposed to and looking past the Jets. When you have a team like that, you're going into playoffs, you got to treat every opportunity that you have to play against a team as an opportunity to get better as a team, to win, and to continue that progression right into the playoffs. And when I watched the film yesterday, again, I just didn't see that passion. I didn't see that energy. You saw guys kind of jogging to make plays, and it just wasn't what I was used to seeing the Rams play like.
I got a name for it. I don't think I've ever used this before, and I'll probably forget to use it again, but I'm going to call it an eggnog game. It's Christmas week. The Rams across the board thought, hey, it's Christmas week. This is the Jets. They stink. Look at what happened to them in Seattle. They're no good. We're good. It's on the players. It's on the coaches. It's on everyone. They should have sensed, and probably in hindsight, Sean McVay is kicking himself for not sensing that a malaise kind of settled in, that they thought all they had to do was show up. And, next year, week of Christmas, I'm going to be watching every game to see where that eggnog game is, because this was the 2020 eggnog game.
Do you like eggnog, Mike?
No, I hate it. I've never had it.
No,
there's something
never.
about. No, I've never had it. Never had it. I just the thought of it. Any liquid with egg in the title is not appealing to me. I'll
Rodney
drink a
Harrison, have
milkshake
you
if
had
I want
eggnog?
something that thick.
I hate it.
You hate it. Tony?
I know that I actually like eggnog, and I know the feeling
Good
that
man.
Mike is talking about, and you do have to guard against that as a coach. But I'm not sure that was it with the Rams. I just think if you can stop the Rams from running the ball and setting that physical tempo on offense early, they're a different team.
I thought Tony was going to say, I know what Mike's talking about with eggnog, but he turned it right back to football, thankfully, keeping us on the rails here. All right, last one. Rodney, I'll give you the first swing at this. Tennessee-Green Bay, our Sunday night game, is a huge game. Derrick Henry, who if he can have 2 big games, can think about 2,000 yards. Aaron Rodgers, 40 touchdowns, incredible season. Bad second half for their Packers offense in the game against Carolina Saturday night at Lambeau. Rodney, what are you looking forward to in this matchup on Sunday Night Football?
Tackling. Are you kidding me? Who's going to tackle Derrick Henry? I mean, tackling. And even Devontae Adams, because, you know, Aaron Rodgers, with all these big wide receivers, he's like to get the ball out quick and force these DBs to tackle, you know, some of these big wide receivers. So I'm really excited to see if Green Bay will step up their linebackers, their safeties, their cornerbacks, and tackle no dump trunk.
Well, I'm excited about the game because to me it's strength against weakness. Tennessee can do a lot of things really well, but they don't rush the passer and they don't have a great secondary. That spells trouble against Aaron Rodgers. Green Bay does a lot of things well, but they don't stop the run, particularly inside run. They've got pass rushes off the edge, but now can Tennessee get their strength, Derrick Henry going against Green Bay's weakness, and how does Tennessee put up some type of fence or roadblock to stop Aaron Rodgers? I think it could be a high-scoring, really entertaining game. I didn't know this until I read it yesterday. Tennessee has the highest-scoring offense in football. So we're going to see some points on the board.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the Packers have been
Florio.
prone to starting slowly. That's all right. The Packers have been prone to starting slowly at home this year. They finally had a fast start on Saturday night against the Panthers, and then they had to fight to hold on. The Titans are a little more desperate in this one, though. I think this time of year when there are, you know, you start checking the boxes and it looks pretty even. The Titans don't have a playoff berth nailed down yet, and they could blow it and fall out of the postseason altogether, and I think they're going to be a little hungrier for this one. And I right now, I feel like this is a bad matchup for the Packers because the Titans do have that great offense. They do have that hunger. They know the stakes. And we've seen it with the Packers. They're prone to having that bad game just kind of out of nowhere, and that could be on Sunday night when it happens.
Yeah, Tennessee, Indy, Cleveland, Baltimore, Miami. One of those teams will not make the playoffs. So these last 2 weeks are essential for those teams. And then we're going to be watching that Rams-Arizona situation, a potential Week 17 there, as Chicago keeps hanging around here and has a chance to get to 8-7 if they can win on Sunday. It's fun. We've gotten down the last couple of weeks. There's that extra playoff berth, but there's still good races to be had here in the NFL. Guys, have a great, great, great Christmas with your families. Luckily for us, we get to spend Christmas with our families and then go to work for the good NFL weekend. So Merry Christmas to
guys.
all. Yeah,
Merry
you
Christmas,
too.
guys.
And,
All right.
And I hope Scrooge brings you a piece of coal and eggnog, Florio, for Christmas this year.
I'll eat the coal before I drink the eggnog.
Thanks, Mike.
Merry Christmas, everybody. We'll see you on Football Night at 7 Eastern before Tennessee Green Bay. Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.